This is the story of something that happened to me and my two best friends a few years ago. And I swear, I still get chills when I think about it. This is not some made-up ghost story or one of those urban legends people like to share around. Campfires. No, this was real. This happened in the middle of nowhere, and I honestly don't think we were supposed to come back. So, it started on a Friday. My friends, Ravi and a man, and I had this idea to take a road trip. Nothing fancy, just drive out into the countryside, away from the noise, away from the city, and just chill. No phones, no plans, just us and the road. It was supposed to be a break from everything. We packed up our car with snacks, drinks, a tent, sleeping bags, and a Bluetooth speaker. All fun stuff. Just three guys looking for adventure. We didn't pick any specific destination. We just drove. The idea was to go wherever the road led us. For the first few hours, it was great. We laughed, played music, stopped for tea at random stalls, and took photos. The sun was setting when we found this narrow road that branched off the main highway. It had no signs, no lights, just trees on both sides. Naturally, we were curious, so we turned in. We drove for maybe 20 minutes down that road. The trees got denser, the sky darker, and the road rougher. Eventually, we found a flat clearing, just a patch of dry land surrounded by tall trees. No houses, no farms, no animals, just silence. It was perfect for what we wanted: peace. We parked, set up our tent, and built a small campfire. For a while, everything was chill. We roasted some corn, shared spooky stories, even played a bit of music. But then the mood started to shift. Around midnight, the fire suddenly flickered really hard, like wind had hit it. But there was no wind, not even a breeze. And then the woods went completely quiet. No crickets, no leaves rustling, just silence, like the forest itself was holding its breath. A man noticed it first. He said, "Do you guys feel like we're being watched?" We laughed it off, but deep down we felt it too. There was this strange pressure in the air, like something unseen was very close. I told them maybe we were just spooked because of the ghost stories, but then we heard it. Crunch, like dry leaves being stepped on. Not once, not from far away. No, right outside our tent. We froze. The fire was still going, but it wasn't strong enough to light up far. Ravi quickly grabbed his flashlight and shined it outside. Nothing, but the crunching sound came again. This time from the other side. Aman whispered, "There's something out there." We tried to stay calm, told ourselves maybe it was an animal, but animals don't circle you, and they don't stop moving the moment you shine a light. We decided to get into the car and just lock the doors. We didn't even pack the tent, we just ran. Once we were inside, I turned the headlights on and aimed them at the trees. What we saw made my blood run cold. There was someone, something, standing just beyond the light, not moving, not even blinking. It looked human, but too tall, way too tall, maybe 8 feet. It had long arms that nearly reached the ground, and its skin looked gray, like ash. None of us said a word. We just stared. Then slowly it stepped back and disappeared into the darkness. I started the engine, and we drove like hell down that road. But here's where things got even stranger. We kept driving and driving, but the road never ended. It should have taken us 20 minutes to get back to the highway, but an hour passed, then 2. The trees looked the same, like we were in a loop. Aman started crying. Ravi was muttering something about being cursed. I just kept driving. Finally, we saw something ahead. A small house with a light on. It looked so out of place, just a wooden cabin in the middle of nowhere. But we were desperate. We stopped the car, walked to the door, and knocked. An old woman opened the door. Her eyes were pale, almost white. She didn't look surprised to see us. She said, "You boys are lost, aren't you?" We nodded. She smiled, but it wasn't warm. It was empty. She let us in and gave us water. Then she said something I'll never forget. "You should not have taken that road." We asked her what she meant, and she told us the road we took wasn't on any map. It only appears at night, and it leads to a part of the forest that doesn't belong to the world we know, a place where they live. We asked who they were. She looked out the window and said, "They watch, they play, and if you stay too long, they keep." I don't know why, but we believed her. Every word. She told us to sleep and leave before sunrise. We didn't argue, but I swear, while we were trying to sleep, I heard whispering outside the cabin, like voices calling our names, soft, sweet, wrong. At dawn, we thanked the old woman and left. This time, the road led us out in 15 minutes, like it should have in the first place. When we finally got back to the highway, we pulled over and just sat in silence. None of us said a word the whole drive back home. We tried looking for that road again later. Never found it. It was gone, like it had never been there. And the scariest part? Ammon checked the GPS history from that night. There was nothing. No record of where we went. Like we had vanished for a few hours. This story still gives me nightmares. And I've never gone on another random road trip again. Because now I know. There are places not meant for us. Places that don't exist until you find them, or they find you. So if you ever find yourself on an empty road in the middle of nowhere, and the forest gets too quiet, turn back. Because some roads lead to places where something else is waiting, and if you're not lucky, you won't come back. This is the story of a night I'll never forget. A night so strange, so terrifying, that even now when I talk about it, I get goosebumps. I wasn't alone, and I wasn't dreaming. This happened, and it happened in the middle of nowhere. Just a stretch of land with nothing but trees, dirt, and darkness all around. It was the last weekend of summer, and my cousin Arjun had come to visit me. We both needed a break from the city, and his idea was simple. Let's go camping. Somewhere far, quiet, peaceful. At first I said no. I'm not really a camping person. But he kept insisting, saying he knew a place, an abandoned orchard, about 60 kilometers from the nearest town. He'd read about it online. That should have been my first red flag. But I trusted Arjun. So we packed a tent, some food, water, flashlights, and power banks. We left in the afternoon, drove his car through highways and narrow village roads, and reached just before sunset. The place looked strange. The land was dry, and the orchard had long been left alone. Trees were bare, twisted, almost like they had frozen while dying. No animals, no birds, just silence. Thick, eerie silence. I asked him, "Are you sure this is safe?" He smiled. Yeah, it's just old land. Perfect for a night away. So, we set up the tent between two trees, built a small fire with dry wood lying around, and sat down to relax. We talked, joked, shared stories. For a while, it felt good. Peaceful, even. Then something changed. It was around 10 p.m. The fire was dying, and we were just staring at the sky. That's when I heard it. A bell. Faint. Distant. Like the kind you hear on a cow or an old temple. Did you hear that? I asked Arjun. He nodded. It's probably a cow from a nearby village. But I knew that wasn't right. We hadn't passed any villages close to this place, and why would a cow be walking around here at night? We ignored it. But a few minutes later, we heard it again. Ding, ding, ding. This time it was louder, and it didn't sound like a cowbell anymore. It sounded off, metallic, but broken, like something was dragging it. Arjun stood up, looking uneasy. Maybe we should check it out, I said. Or maybe we should just stay here and not get killed. But he was already walking towards the trees with his flashlight. I didn't want to be alone, so I followed him. We moved deeper into the orchard, the dry branches crunching beneath our feet. The flashlight beam bounced between trees and shadows. The bell kept ringing, sometimes near, sometimes far. It felt like it was playing with us, pulling us in, then moving away. Then we saw something. A figure. Standing still, about 20 feet away. Completely still. We stopped. The figure was dressed in white. Or maybe it was just the light. We couldn't see the face. It looked like a woman. Long hair, thin arms, but not moving, not breathing. Just there. Hello? Arjun called out. No reply. We slowly stepped closer. The figure didn't move. Then suddenly, the flashlight died. Pitch black. I grabbed Arjun's hand and whispered, "Run!" We didn't know where we were running, just away. Away from that figure, from that sound, from everything. We tripped over roots, hit branches, tore our clothes, but we didn't stop. Finally, we found the tent and the car. We jumped in, locked the doors, and sat, panting. Arjun tried turning on the car. Nothing. Dead. Even though the battery was fine just hours ago. Then the bell rang again. Right outside. The car. I froze. It circled us. Slowly. The sound moving from window to window. Ding! 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 Arjun grabbed his phone, tried to call for help. No signal. Not even a single bar. I looked out the window but saw nothing. Just trees and darkness. Then, something hit the car roof. A soft tap. Then another. Tap, tap, tap. And then it began scratching the windows. Like nails. Long, slow, deliberate scratches. I whispered, "Don't move. Don't speak." We sat like that for what felt like hours. Listening, waiting, and then silence. The scratching stopped. The bell stopped. Nothing. We waited a bit longer before we dared to open the car door and step out. The air was colder now, completely still. The tent had been slashed open. Whatever it was, it had gone through our things. Clothes were scattered, bags torn, and on the tent wall, scratched into the fabric, were 4 words, "You shouldn't be here," We didn't speak. We just packed up whatever wasn't destroyed, grabbed the flashlight, now working again somehow, and started walking. No idea where we were going. Just following the stars and hoping for the best. After maybe an hour of walking, we saw a road, a proper paved road, and a small tea stall opening for the morning. We ran to the man setting up his counter and asked for help. He looked at us, confused. "Where did you come from?" he asked. We told him about the orchard. He looked scared. "You went there? No one goes there." We asked why. He said, "That orchard was cursed years ago. A woman died there. People say she was a temple dancer accused of black magic. The villagers buried her deep in that land. Since then, anyone who camps there, they don't stay sane." We told him about the bell, the figure, the scratches. He looked away and said, "You're lucky. Most don't return." We thanked him, borrowed his phone to call for help, and waited. When we got back home, we didn't speak about it for weeks. Arjun deleted the website where he found the place, and I burned the tent. I couldn't even look at it without feeling that presence again. But here's the thing. Some nights when I'm alone, I still hear that bell, just faintly, and I don't know if it's in my head or if she followed us back. This is the story of something that happened to me and my two friends, Rehan and Kabir, just last year. We thought it would be just a fun weekend. You know, escape from city noise, stress, everything. But what we found instead was fear. Real, cold-crawling fear. It all started when Rehan said he knew of a place deep in the hills, a perfect camping spot untouched by tourists. It's peaceful, isolated, no signals, no traffic, just nature, he told us with a smile. Kabir and I were sold on the idea. We packed light, just the essentials, and left early Saturday morning. The drive took nearly 6 hours, first on smooth highways, then rougher roads, and finally a narrow dirt path that led us through dense forest. The deeper we went, the more silent it became. No cars, no animals, no birds, just the occasional rustle of wind through dry leaves. By the time we reached the spot, it was late afternoon. A flat clearing surrounded by tall, dark trees. The forest felt thick, like it was watching us. But we ignored that feeling. We pitched our tent, collected wood for a fire, and prepared for a quiet evening. As the sun went down, the forest changed. The air got colder, and the silence grew heavier. We lit the fire, cooked some instant noodles, and started talking about stupid things. Ghost stories, local legends, that kind of stuff. It was all fun and laughter until Kabir said something weird. "You guys feel that?" he asked. Rehan and I paused. "Feel what?" Like we're not alone. I looked around. Nothing but trees. But suddenly, I felt it too. A weird pressure, like someone standing just behind me. I turned. No one. I laughed it off. "It's just your imagination, bro. Forest messes with your head." But Rehan wasn't, laughing. He was staring at something behind Kabir. I followed his gaze. Far beyond the firelight, just at the edge of the trees, something was standing. It looked like a man, but too tall and too still. He wasn't moving, not even swaying like you'd expect someone to do while standing that long. Just standing there, watching. "Hello?" Rehan called out. No answer. Probably a local, I said, but my voice was shaky. Kabir picked up a flashlight and aimed it at the figure, but the light showed nothing. Empty trees. The figure was gone. We were all silent. I swear I saw someone, Rehan whispered. We decided to go into the tent and stay there for the night. It felt safer inside. We zipped the flap shut, turned off the light, and tried to sleep. But none of us could. Every crack of a branch or rustle of leaves outside made us flinch. Then, around 2 a.m., we heard it. Whistling. A low, soft, slow whistle, like a tune, but off-key. It circled the tent, one side, then the other. We held our breath. Rehan whispered, "Who's out there?" No answer. Just more whistling. Then something touched the tent wall from outside. A hand, or something shaped like one, pressed against the fabric, slowly dragging along it. We couldn't scream. We just sat there, frozen. Then it stopped. The whistling faded into the forest. We waited another hour before we dared to move. When the first light of morning came, we got out of the tent. What we saw chilled us. There were footprints, barefoot. Not shoe prints, bare feet, and huge. Too big to be human. They circled the tent again and again. We packed up in minutes. We didn't even eat. We just wanted to leave. But here's where things got worse. We couldn't find the road. The path we drove in on, gone. Just trees and bushes. We walked in circles for hours. No signal, no trail, just endless forest. It felt like we were trapped in a loop. Every time we thought we'd found the right direction, we ended up back at the same clearing, like the forest didn't want to let us go. Kabir finally lost it. He shouted into the woods, "What do you want? Leave us alone!" The forest stayed silent. We sat down, hopeless, tired, thirsty. That's when we saw her, a girl, standing a few meters away, pale skin, long black hair, wearing a white dress that looked wrong, like it was from another time. She didn't say anything, just raised her hand and pointed to our left. Then she turned and walked into the trees. Rehan said, "We're not following her." But Kabir said, "She's pointing us out of here." And stupidly, we followed her. She didn't look back, just walked slowly, her white dress moving like it was floating. We followed for maybe 10 minutes. Then suddenly, we were back on the road. Our car was right there. We turned around to thank her, but she was gone. We drove, fast, didn't stop, didn't talk. Just drove until we hit the highway. Back home, we tried to forget it. We told ourselves we imagined things. Maybe it was a forest trick. Maybe we were tired. But the next week, Kabir started acting strange. He stopped talking much. Said he couldn't sleep, that he kept hearing the whistling at night. We stayed over at his place one night to check on him. At 3 a.m., we heard it too, the whistle. Outside his window, Kabir got up, walked to the window and whispered, "She's calling me." We had to pull him back. He was trying to open the door. The next morning, we made him stay with his family, away from the city. As for me, sometimes I still dream of the forest, and in the dream I hear the whistle, soft, slow, calling me back. I don't know what we found in that forest, or what found us, but I'll never ever go back to the middle of nowhere again. This is the story of something that happened to me and my friend Sahil a few years ago. I still remember it like it was yesterday, and every time I think about it, I can't shake the feeling that something followed us back. It all started when Sahil suggested we go on a hike. Nothing fancy, just a weekend away from the city, a little adventure. He knew a place, an old abandoned trail up in the mountains. The kind of place you'd never find on a map, just an old road that had long been forgotten. Now, I'm not usually one for hiking, but Sahil convinced me. "It's just a couple of days, man. You'll love it," he said, and I trusted him. We packed our backpacks with food, water, and some camping gear, then hit the road early on a Saturday morning. The drive was long. The further we went, the fewer people we saw. By the time we reached the trailhead, we were deep in the woods, far from any signs of civilization. The air smelled fresh, the trees thick and green. It felt peaceful. Too peaceful, looking back on it now. We started walking. The trail wasn't hard to follow at first. It wound through thick woods, with the occasional break in the trees that showed us distant views of the valley below. But as we went deeper, the path got less clear. It seemed like it hadn't been touched in years. The ground was soft, the brush overgrown, and there were parts of the trail where we had to crawl under fallen branches. Around midday, we found a good spot by a stream and decided to stop for lunch. We sat on the rocks, eating and talking about life. For a moment, everything felt normal, but then something caught my eye. Across the stream, through the trees, I saw a figure. A person standing still, just watching us. At first, I thought it was another hiker, maybe someone else exploring the trail. But the longer I looked, the weirder it seemed. The figure was tall, wearing all black, and stood so still it almost looked like a statue. I couldn't see a face, just the shape of a person. I nudged Sahil. "Hey, do you see that?" He turned to look, but saw nothing. "What are you talking about?" "I swear there's someone over there, across the stream." But when Sahil looked again, the figure was gone. Just vanished. I figured maybe it was a trick of the light, maybe some shadows playing with my mind. I didn't think much of it. We finished our lunch and continued down the trail. By now, the sun was starting to dip lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the forest floor. The further we walked, the more uncomfortable I began to feel. The trees felt too close, the air too still. Every crack of a branch or rustle of leaves made me jump. Around sunset, we reached a clearing. It was a small patch of flat ground, perfect for setting up camp. We decided to pitch the tent, start a fire, and spend the night. As the darkness settled in, we sat by the fire, roasting marshmallows and talking about random things. But the unease I'd felt earlier was still there, gnawing at the back of my mind. And it didn't help that I kept hearing noises in the distance. It was like someone, or something, was moving through the trees just beyond the firelight. Every now and then, I'd hear a twig snap, or the sound of something heavy brushing against the branches. I tried to ignore it. Sahil didn't seem bothered at all, but I couldn't shake the feeling that we weren't alone. Around 11 p.m., the fire was starting to die down. We decided to turn in for the night. I had just crawled into my sleeping bag when I heard something that made my heart skip a beat. A soft, almost imperceptible voice. A whisper. I froze. "Sahil," I whispered, not wanting to make a sound. But he didn't answer. I called his name again, louder this time. Still nothing. I reached over to nudge him, but he was asleep, completely still. I stared at him for a moment, my mind racing. Maybe it was just the wind, or the sound of the trees, swaying, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Then, the whisper came again, this time clearer. "Leave. Now." I couldn't tell if it was real, or if I was just losing my mind. I sat up in my sleeping bag, heart racing, and listened. The whisper came again, louder this time, almost urgent. "Leave! Now!" I grabbed my flashlight and turned it on, scanning the edges of the campsite. But I saw nothing. Just the trees swaying in the wind, the shadows playing tricks on my eyes. I tried to calm myself down. I told myself it was just the stress of the hike, the isolation. But deep down, I knew something wasn't right. I felt like I was being watched. The next morning, I woke up to find Sahil already packing up his things. "You ready to go?" he asked, looking a little too cheerful for my liking. I nodded, still shaken from the night before. "Yeah, let's get out of here." We packed up the tent and began the long walk back down the trail. But the whole way back, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being followed. It was like someone, or something, was always just behind us, just out of sight. At one point, I heard the crunch of leaves underfoot. I spun around, but there was nothing there. I tried to tell Sahil, but he just laughed it off. "You're imagining things," he said. "It's just the woods, man." But it wasn't just the woods. I knew that. I could feel it in my bones. We finally made it back to the car, and I thought it was over. But as we drove away, I looked in the rearview mirror. And there it was. A figure standing at the edge of the trail, watching us drive away. Tall, black, and still. Just like before. I blinked and it was gone. I didn't say anything to Sahil. I didn't think he'd believe me. We didn't talk much the rest of the drive. I kept looking in the rearview mirror, half expecting to see that figure again, but it never appeared. We've never gone hiking together again. And sometimes when I'm alone in the woods, I still feel it. That presence, like I'm being watched. And when the wind picks up, I can almost hear the whisper again, soft and distant. "Leave. Now." I don't know what we encountered that weekend, but I can tell you one thing. It was real. And it's not something I'll ever forget. This is the story of a night that changed everything for me. It started just like any other night, but ended in a way I'll never forget. A night I won't ever talk about much except now for you, because I know you'll understand. It was a summer evening when my friend Nikhil invited me to a small party out in the countryside. It wasn't a big event, just a few friends, some drinks, and a bonfire. Nikhil always knew how to make a small gathering feel special, so I wasn't going to pass up the chance to unwind. Plus, it had been a tough week, and I needed to clear my mind. The place was about 2 hours away from the city, so we drove up in Nikhil's old Jeep. The journey was peaceful at first, just open roads and the soft hum of the engine. But as we got closer, things began to feel off. The road turned into a dirt path, and the trees seemed to grow thicker, the darkness closing in. I tried not to think too much about it. We arrived just as the sun was setting. The house, a large old farmhouse, stood alone at the end of a winding gravel driveway. The kind of house that seemed like it belonged in a storybook, or maybe a horror movie. It was beautiful in a way, but there was something strange about it. The windows were dark, almost as if no one had lived there in years. We were greeted by a few friends who had already arrived. They were sitting by a bonfire, laughing and talking about random things. It seemed like a normal party, but even then I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. It felt too quiet, too isolated. The night went on, and I tried to enjoy myself. Nikhil and the others were all having a good time, but I couldn't stop glancing at the house. The wind had picked up, and I could hear the trees rustling in the distance, like they were whispering secrets to each other. I told myself it was nothing, just the nature of being out in the middle of nowhere. But there was something in the air that made me uneasy. Around midnight, most of the group had gone to bed, leaving just me, Nikhil, and a couple of others still by the fire. That's when I heard it. A sound. A low, dragging noise. Almost like something heavy being dragged across the floor. It came from inside the house. I looked at Nikhil. "Did you hear that?" I asked. He didn't seem to hear it at first. But then the sound came again, louder this time. A dragging noise followed by a faint scratching. It was coming from the house, from somewhere inside. Everyone else had already gone inside to sleep, but I couldn't ignore it. The noise was too real. I stood up and walked toward the house, trying to convince myself it was just the wind or an animal. But the closer I got, the more the sound grew, like something, or someone, was moving around in there. I reached the front door, and I swear it was as if I could feel something on the other side. A presence. I knocked, but there was no answer. I knocked again. Still nothing. I tried the door, and to my surprise, it creaked open, slowly. Too slowly. I stepped inside. The house was dark, the air was cold, and there was a musty smell that made me cough. It looked like it hadn't been lived in for years. Dust covered every surface, and old furniture was scattered about, some broken, others untouched. The noise stopped, and for a moment, I thought maybe I had imagined it. But then, I heard it again. The dragging sound, now coming from the upstairs. Without thinking, I called out, "Hello? Is anyone here?" But there was no answer, just silence. I turned back to leave, but then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw something move. A shadow. It moved across the hallway, disappearing around the corner. I froze. I was about to turn and run when Nikhil suddenly appeared behind me. "What the hell are you doing in here, man?" I jumped, my heart racing. "Did you see that?" I asked, my voice shaking. "See what?" Nikhil said, his brow furrowing. "You're acting weird. Let's get back to the fire." I didn't want to go back to the fire. I wanted to leave, but I didn't want to seem paranoid. I told Nikhil about the shadow I'd seen, but he just laughed it off. "It's just an old house, dude. Your mind is playing tricks on you. Let's get some sleep." We left the house, and I tried to push the feeling aside. But sleep didn't come easy. Every time I closed my eyes, I could hear the dragging sound. Every time I turned my head, I felt like something was watching me. The next morning, the sun was shining brightly, and the house looked a lot less intimidating in the daylight. I thought maybe I had just been overreacting, but when I went to grab my things from the Jeep, I saw something that made my blood run cold. The back door of the farmhouse was wide open. I knew we had closed it the night before. I walked over slowly, my feet dragging through the grass, and peeked inside. The house looked untouched, but something felt off. The air was thick, heavy. The door had been opened from the inside. And that dragging noise, it was louder now, coming from the upstairs again. I didn't know what to do. I turned to Nikhil, who was chatting with the others near the bonfire. I had to get out of there. I grabbed my things, and that's when I saw it. A figure standing at the top of the stairs, staring down at me. It was a person, or at least, it looked like a person. But the way it stood there, so still, so silent, it wasn't right. I blinked, and when I looked again, it was gone. Just vanished. I ran back to the others, heart pounding, and told Nikhil it was time to go. I didn't care how far away we were. I didn't care that I might look crazy. I just needed to leave. We packed up and left quickly, not looking back. I didn't want to tell anyone else what had happened. They would think I was crazy, but I knew what I saw. I knew what I felt. And whatever was in that house, it wasn't human. I never went back to that place. And honestly, I don't think I ever will. Every now and then, when I'm driving through the countryside, I can't help but think about that farmhouse. And when the wind blows through the trees, I wonder if the dragging sound is still there. But some things, I think, are better left alone.